Right now, on this entire planet, there is exactly one kind of human. You. No cousins, no rivals, no other kind of human anywhere. Just silence where other footsteps used to be. But 100,000 years ago, that wasn't true. At least 6 different kinds of humans shared this planet. No smartphones, no mirrors, no way to know you were even the same species as the next valley. Just fire, silence, and the strange feeling that something else, something almost human, was still out there. One by one, every single one of them disappeared. And if just one link in that chain had broken, you wouldn't exist. This is the true story of the humans who almost made it, and the strange reason you didn't join them. 6 species, 1 survivor, and the twist, some of them never really left at all. Let's meet them one by one, starting with the cousins who lived closest to people like Nock. Across Ice Age Europe and Asia lived the Neanderthals, stronger than Nock, barrel-chested, built for brutal cold. For decades, people called them dumb brutes. Then archaeologist Dirk Hoffman's team found something that changed everything. In 2018, Hoffman's team dated red cave paintings in Spain to at least 64,800 years old before humans arrived. They wore jewelry made from eagle talons, buried their dead with care, and may have made art first. Then around 45,000 years ago, people like Knox started arriving in their territory. 2 human species, face to face. They didn't just fight. In 2010, geneticist Svana Pabo sequenced the first Neanderthal genome and found something shocking. If you have ancestors outside Africa, roughly 1 to 2% of your DNA right now is Neanderthal. By about 40,000 years ago, the last Neanderthals vanished, many of them right here on the coast of Iberia. Pabo's discovery later won him the 2022 Nobel Prize for proving your ancestors and there's never fully separated. Then, a Neanderthal warmed cold hands by a fire. You, today, can check a DNA kit and see their ghost. As researcher Rebecca Ragg-Sykes put it in her book Kindred, they weren't a failed experiment. They were kin. Farther east, in a freezing Siberian cave, scientists found an entire human species from a single pinky finger bone. They named them Denisovans. Nobody knows what they looked like. We only know them from their DNA. In that same cave, researcher Vivian Slan found the bone of a teenage girl, and her genome broke the field. In 2018, Slan's team proved this girl, nicknamed Denny, had a Neanderthal mother and a Denisovan father. 3 different human species, meeting, mixing, raising children together in a cave tens of thousands of years before you. Denisovan DNA didn't stay in Siberia. It traveled thousands of miles, all the way into island Southeast Asia. Today, people from Papua New Guinea and Melanesia carry up to 6% Denisovan DNA, the highest on Earth. We still don't know exactly when the last Denisovan died. Their story ends in silence, somewhere in the mountains. Then, a Denisovan vanished with no name and no grave marker. You can trace their ghost in a genetics report today. On the island of Flores, in Indonesia, lived a human barely a meter tall. Scientists nicknamed them Hobbits. Their brains were smaller than a chimpanzee's. Yet they made stone tools and hunted animals many times their size. Isolated on their island for maybe 700,000 years, both the animals and the humans shrank or grew strange. Scientists first thought hobbits survived until just 12,000 years ago. Better dating pushed that back to 50,000. Still, that means hobbits and people like Nock may have shared this same island at nearly the same time. Local Flores folklore still tells of small, hairy forest people called Abigogo. Nobody knows if that's a memory. No hobbit DNA has ever been found inside you. Whatever happened to them, it wasn't a shared bloodline. Then, a hobbit dragged home a kill twice their size. You can walk past their bones behind museum glass today. An entire species shrunk down by isolation, thriving for 700,000 years, then gone, quietly, on one small island. Flores wasn't alone. Another tiny island, another tiny human, this time far north in the Philippines. In 2019, researcher Flores Detroit's team announced a new species from a single cave on the island of Luzon. Their toe bones curved like a tree climber's. Their teeth looked strangely primitive, almost too old to make sense. Homo Luzonensis lived on Luzon for at least 50,000 years, small-bodied, tree-savvy, in dense island rainforest. To get there, their ancestors had to cross open ocean, with no boats we've ever found evidence of. However they crossed, an entire ancient lineage made a home on Luzon and quietly vanished, leaving almost nothing behind. Two tiny island species, thousands of miles apart, both shrinking, both surviving, both eventually disappearing without explanation. Then, a Luzonensis hand gripped a branch above the jungle floor. Your hand still grips things the same way. But the strangest of all six species wasn't hiding on some remote island. It was hiding in plain sight. Quick pause. If a stranger from another human species walked into your camp tonight, what would you do? Tell me below. In South Africa's Rising Star cave system, there's a chute so narrow only a thin caver can fit. In 2013, Lee Berger sent a team of small scientists down that chute and found hundreds of bones. The bones belonged to Homo Naledi, a brain the size of an orange, but hands built for tool use. Everyone assumed something this primitive had to be ancient. Then, in 2017, the dating results came back. Homo Naledi was only 236,000 to 335,000 years old, meaning it lived at the exact same time as us. Stranger still, those bones weren't scattered by accident. Something or someone carried the bodies deep underground on purpose. Berger's team believes it may be the earliest deliberate burial ever found, done by a species with a tiny brain. It's possible Homo Naledi walked this same Earth as your direct ancestors, and neither species ever knew the other existed. No Naledi DNA has ever been recovered. Their entire genetic story may be lost forever in that dark cave. Then, a Naledi squeezed through solid rock to honor the dead. You squeeze through crowds and barely notice the strangers beside you. Before any of them, there was Homo erectus, the longest surviving human species that has ever existed. Longer than us. Homo erectus walked the earth for almost 2 million years, first to leave Africa, first to master fire. By comparison, Homo sapiens has only existed for about 300,000 years. Erectus outlasted us 6 times over and counting. In 2019, geologist Russell Sciashon's team finally pinned down where and when the very last Erectus lived. The last known Homo erectus lived at Ngandong, Java, somewhere between 117,000 and 108,000 years ago. That means on this exact stretch of river, one human species held on for 2 million years, then simply stopped. Scientists think shifting climate dried up their forests and grasslands right as modern humans were arriving nearby. The species that outlasted every ice age, every eruption, every predator, met its end quietly on a riverbank. Then, an erectus stared in wonder at the very first controlled flame. You flick a lighter without a second thought. 6 species, 2 million years of company. And then, all at once in evolutionary time, you were the only one left. So here's the real question. Out of at least 9 known human species, why did only yours make it? Paleoanthropologist Chris Stringer has one answer. It wasn't muscle or brain size alone. It was connection. Sapiens built social networks stretching hundreds of miles, trading tools, stories, and mates with strangers they'd never met. Neanderthals, by comparison, mostly lived in small, isolated groups. When times got hard, they had fewer places to turn. It wasn't that other species were stupid. They just had fewer strangers willing to help them survive a bad winter. But here's the twist nobody expects. Extinction isn't quite the right word for what happened to most of them. Neanderthals and Denisovans didn't just die out. Their genes walked forward inside sapiens' bodies all the way to right now. Somewhere in that crowd you walk through today, other human species are quite literally still alive inside people. You're not really the last human species standing alone. You're the one who absorbed all the others into yourself. So the next time you feel alone, remember, you're carrying pieces of at least 3 other kinds of human inside you. 1 species on the outside, 6 species worth of survival, memory, and love quietly folded in on the inside. You didn't just outlive them. In every real sense, you became the last chapter every one of them ever got. So why are you the only human species left? Because you were built to connect, and connection outlasts everything else. Erectus, Naledi, Floriensis, Luzonensis, Denisovans, Neanderthals, 6 stories, 1 ending, and it's the one you're living right now. Same human, different world. If this made you feel a little less alone and a little more amazed, you know exactly what to do. One quick question for the comments. If you could bring back just one of these 6 species, which one would you pick? Next time, we go back to the very first days of Nox's world and the one rule that never changed. 6 species tried. 1 learned to never walk alone. And that, more than anything else, is why you're still here. Same human, different world. And now, you know,